Hi all, thanks for tuning in to the JP Bash channel. So on today's video I thought I'd go over how to resolve the MT8 steering issues. It seems to be a common problem on the MT8 that the servo saver, well, let's just say it's pants. So I'm going to go over the steps on how to install the Trial servo saver onto the MT8. In short, we're going to remove the spring and the gubbins from the existing servo saver and glue it shut, and we're going to install this Trial aluminium 7075 saver. Now I have to shout out to Captain Could of RC, because he's the one who basically found this way of getting over the problem with the MT8. So check out his channel, his link is in the description below. He's a great guy and he knows loads about the MT8, so watch his videos, like and subscribe. Thanks Captain. So the first thing you want to do is buy one of these Trial servo savers. They're aluminium 7075 with 25 teeth, and normally they go on the Lossy monster truck. So you can find this direct fit servo saver on the trialhobby.com website under the Lossy parts section. So without further ado, let's get on with how to do it. So first thing to do is you need to remove the 4 screws from the bell housing cover or frame, plate, whatever you want to call it. That will give you access to the servo saver. You want to disconnect from the servo saver horns the servo steering arm and the steering rack. Once you've done this, you can then remove the servo saver. It looks like this. So once you've got it out, you want to take the screw off the top, or the nut, sorry, and then you want to remove the washer, the spring, and then take the whole lot off the post, if you like, that it sits on. You then want to get yourself some super glue, and you want to super glue the 2 parts together with the horns on, as they are in this illustration. So after you've done that and the glue's gone off, you want to put it back onto the post, and you want to put the nut back on and tighten the nut up fully. Don't put the washers back in, there's 2 of them. Don't put the spring back in. Put the horns over the post and then tighten the nut fully down onto it. Do not super glue the nut either. There is no need to super glue the nut. If you want to be able to remove the horns in the future, if they break for whatever reason, then you need to be able to undo that nut to take them off the post. If you super glue it down, you're going to have some fun times there. You're probably going to have to buy a complete new servo saver to replace it. So here's a little illustration of all the parts of the servo saver broken apart and how it assembles together. I've also shown you where you need to put the super glue onto the servo saver horns. So then basically you want to reassemble in basically the same way that you took it apart. Put the servo saver back onto the car, put the cover plate, the bell housing plate back on with the 4 screws, then connect back up onto the one horn, your steering arm, and then connect up onto the other horn, the steering rack. So next we move on to the Trial servo saver. This comes pre-assembled, so the first thing you want to do is remove the nut from the servo saver and remove the black spring that it comes fitted with. It will come with a separate stronger silver spring. You want to put this in. I would then say approximately 3 turns of the nut to tighten it back up. That's a sort of starting point for you to go at. So you then want to disconnect your steering link from your existing servo arm and or horn, whatever you want to call it. You also need to remove this from your existing servo. You'll then install the Trial servo saver directly onto your servo. I think it's pretty much the same as putting a normal horn on. There's a screw in the middle, and then I think there's a smaller screw which just helps clamp it down. Don't over tighten it. So once you've done that, you can then connect it back up to the steering link and you're good to go. Install a battery into your car, turn your transmitter on, turn your car on, put it on the floor, and what you want to do now is pay attention to the gap between the servo saver. Where this little gap is the point that you need to be watching. Basically, turn the steering left and right and then see whether there's any movement. It should open up slightly when you turn the wheels. Now if it doesn't open up when you turn the wheels initially, you need to redo it, and you need to undo the nut that you've tightened up 3 full turns. Loosen it off a little bit. So you want to basically see it opening up when you're turning the steering. You work then from that point, slowly, gradually tightening the nut up until you can turn full left to right without it opening. Now I will say, when you turn fully, certainly when you've got the aluminium steering rack in, the steering rack hits the bell housing. When it does that, it will open up the servo saver. You want it to open up the servo saver at that point, because it's basically hitting a brick wall, and that's the same sort of effect that would happen on the servo saver under an impact on your wheel. That sort of ensures it is working correctly and doing what it should do. But during the full motion, turning left to right, before you hit that point where the steering rack hits the bell housing, it should be closed tightly together. It shouldn't be opening up. If it's opening up, then you want to tweak the nut on the top just a little bit more and tighten it up a tiny bit more. Now, the last part of the setup that I did was basically, I was not happy about the fact that when I turned fully, the steering rack was hitting the bell housing, and every time it was activating the servo saver and making a right creaking noise. I don't think that it's going to last long if you're having that happen every time you turn on full lock. So I trimmed my controller down. I've got the basic controller that came with the car, and I found that if you turn the DR on the ST setting down to around 4.5, 4.5, so when turning fully left or fully right, the steering rack then wasn't hitting into the bell housing. You can do this setup on any controller. You just need to fine tune it and find the right setting on the controller to do it. The way to do it is obviously to turn that dial down, or turn the settings down and turn the steering fully. All I did was turn the steering fully on mine and turn the dial down until I could see that the steering rack wasn't making contact with the bell housing anymore. Test it a few times, left and right, make sure you're happy with it, job done. I did this modification about a week ago, and I went out and tried it, and I cannot tell you the difference. Every time I let go of the steering, it went straight. I got great turning, it was responsive. Even on long grass, I got good turning left and right without the vehicle moving. I've got a perfect pass fitted to mine, and to be honest with you, until I did this modification, I actually thought the perfect pass servo was crap. But now I know it was the servo saver that was pants. It's now absolutely spot on, superb, lovely, jabbly. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope that this video is of some use to you. Cheers guys, take care. Oh, don't forget, like and subscribe.